Hey cuties, what's up? We are back with some more reactions after dark, and we of course going to be watching the most disturbing moments caught on home cameras, obviously by The Void. Now it has been a pretty long time since we've done The Void. I mean, it's been this year, but it's been months and months. So, ever since we got into the Stephanie train, we kind of just been doing Rotten Mango and Stephanie Sue stuff for most of the year. But The Void is one of the originals uh, that we started reacting to in the Rad series. I don't know if it was the very first. I doubt it was the very first thing we reacted to. It probably was like Lazy Masquerade or Nick Crowley or something like that. But The Void was suggested to us, right? And then I started doing some Void stuff here and there. So we are back again with some Void, since, again, mixed bag for 25 days of Christmas. Not 25 days of Christmas, what am I talking about? 25 days of Rad, I guess Rad Christmas. So yeah, Void today, maybe even Void tomorrow, we'll have to see. I had to go out for a while today, so we're just doing something short and sweet. I'm really interested in like home camera footage, ring camera stuff, so hopefully there's some good footage in here. Hopefully nothing, bad. Like hopefully no one gets hurt. But the first thing here is the Gladstone Park home invasion. So someone might get hurt. I don't know. Maybe they'll still break into a place and nobody's home. We'll have to see. Yep, no hater segments a day, no radical break, of course, because video's too short for that. So we can just get straight into it. Oh yeah. Viewer discretion is advised. Obviously, we already have it up on the screen, right? This video contains stories and imagery that some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised, apparently. Not just singularly advised, but strongly advised. Sorry for that big pause there, like I'm just really yawny. So I was yawning.
In the early hours of July 24th, 2025, a home security camera inside a house began recording movement near the front.
Why does he sound so robotic? Like the voice, I didn't remember what he sounded like, but didn't people say he sounds like the Lazy Masquerade or something like that? Well, he sounds similar to someone else. Like this is a real person, isn't it? But now he sounds like he's AI. Did he switch to AI, or does he just sound funny when he's sped up? Because we weren't speeding videos up back then. Maybe he just sounds silly when he's sped up like this.
Front door. Voices can be heard yelling, and a man's cries echo through the room. One of the intruders shines a phone light directly into his face, while another points what appears to be a gun. The shouting grows louder, someone demands money, and for several seconds, the chaos continues before the clip abruptly ends. Police would later call it one of the most violent home invasions the area had ever seen.
Is this like... I was gonna say, age restricted, because that looked like that gun wasn't censored, and I don't think it's okay to be showing guns, like real guns on YouTube. Like, that's part of like the monetization thing that you have to like check when submitting your videos. Like, are guns in your video? Then check these boxes if this applies to you, which then can mean your video gets no money. So I wonder if they had to go through that. They don't look like a mouser, which would be weird if it was, but I doubt it is. I don't know what they're called. We're actually gonna watch the video because it seemed like this could be pretty messed up.
The man in the recording was 60-year-old Kamal Akbulut. He lived on Trentham Drive in Gladstone Park, a quiet suburb about 15 kilometers northwest of Melbourne. Kamal was well known in the area. He'd lived there for years with his family and often spent evenings with his cousin Birsel, who was staying at the house that night. But just after 1 in the morning, that sense of normal life disappeared. That night, 5 offenders armed with guns, knives, and a hammer forced their way into the home. Inside were Kamal and his cousin. The group cornered them in one of the main rooms before the violence began. Security footage from inside the house shows the moment the attack started. One of the intruders can be heard shouting, "Where's the money?" as another points a gun toward Kamal, using a phone light to blind him.
Yeah, is that one of those guns? Like, what the heck? Is that even real?
The men yell over one another while Kamal pleads, saying he'll give them whatever they want. As the recording continues, one of the attackers strikes him with a hammer, while another stabs him repeatedly. A gunshot was also fired inside the home. Within minutes, the group runs from the house and escapes in a white Haval SUV, leaving Kamal critically injured on the floor. When police arrived, they found Kamal with serious injuries from a gunshot wound. He was taken to hospital in critical condition. His cousin Bursell wasn't physically harmed. Over the following weeks, investigators worked to identify those responsible. Detectives gathered CCTV from nearby streets, tracked vehicle movements, and followed multiple leads connected to the white Haval SUV seen fleeing the scene. On Wednesday, August 20th, police carried out coordinated raids across Victoria and Queensland. 4 males aged between 16 and 21 were arrested after search warrants were executed at properties in Tarnit, Mill Park, Meadow Heights, and Bundaberg. 2 of the suspects, 21-year-old Patrick Allison and 18-year-old Anthony Tabin, were charged with violent offences and remanded in custody later that day.
They got 4 of them, but not the 5th one. I was gonna say, how the heck did you find these people to begin with? They were like fully clothed, weren't they, with their faces covered? And they're just like, yep, just found these 4 people who you couldn't see at all.
17-year-old arrested in Queensland remained in custody pending extradition to Victoria. Among those arrested was a 16-year-old boy who couldn't be named for legal reasons. He was remanded in custody after choosing not to apply for bail. He now faces several charges, including aggravated home invasion with a firearm, intentionally causing serious injury in circumstances of gross violence, reckless conduct endangering life, possessing an unregistered handgun, car theft, arson, and committing an indictable offence while already on bail.
So many offenses as a 16-year-old, like Jesus Christ. What happened to you?
2022, he had already been charged for murder. Back in March of that year, 16-year-old Declan Cutler was walking home alone after leaving a party in Reservoir, a suburb in Melbourne's north. A stolen Mazda hatchback pulled up beside him, and 8 boys got out carrying knives. They chased Declan, kicking and stabbing him as he fell to the ground. The group drove away, only to turn back a few minutes later, stomp on him again, and take his shoes. Declan died where he fell, suffering 152 injuries in total, including 56 stab wounds and 66 blunt force injuries. The youngest in that group, who was 13 at the time, was charged with murder and an alternate count of manslaughter for his role in the attack.
Where is this happening? And who are these people? Because what the heck do you mean 13? I was already surprised by the 16-year-old, but like a 13-year-old doing all this, being charged with murder? Like, what in God's name?
During the trial, his lawyer argued that he was too young to be held criminally responsible, relying on a legal
I don't know about that.
principle known as Dolly Incapax. It's a presumption that children under a certain age can't be found guilty of a crime because they lack the capacity to understand the difference between right and wrong.
Wouldn't that just mean that's an easily abusable law? Because then if you want people to be let me move my mic here, I might hear that squeaking sound. If you want people to disappear, you would just get a person who is like falls into the age group and make them do it, force them to do it if you have to, and then you could just have anyone you want be eliminated. Question mark. And like the kid can't get in trouble because they're a kid, and so you can, I don't know, somehow not trace it back to whoever made them do it in the first place. Like you could abuse the law like that somehow, or a bunch of kids could just go around doing whatever the heck they want because they're just kids. Like that is like an easily abusable thing, I feel like.
In September 2023, Supreme Court Justice Rita Inserti agreed, ruling that there was a reasonable possibility the boy didn't understand his actions were seriously wrong in a moral sense, even though CCTV footage captured the 2-minute attack where Cutler was stabbed, kicked, and stomped on. Because of that, he was found not guilty of murder and released after serving about a year in custody. In the months leading up to the verdict,
a year in custody, but not in, that doesn't necessarily mean in jail. So again, it just seems like wherever this is, you could just, I don't know, as a 13-year-old, a teenager basically, just do whatever you want. You want to commit murder? Go ahead. You'll get away with it, apparently.
He often
Which, of course, do not do that.
Appeared in court over video link, laughing, eating chips, and putting his feet up to the camera while the details of the attack were read out. Less than 2 years later, he was arrested again, this time for the Gladstone Park home invasion. The footage from inside that house is still some of the most disturbing police have ever released. It shows a man surrounded, pleading, and a group of young offenders who don't seem to care about what they're doing. But what makes it worse is knowing that one of those boys had already faced court for murder.
Yeah, I mean, he's 15 here? Because he was 13, then he's 15? Also, one of them has a hammer. Question mark. Like, I had just noticed that. Like, they have a hammer, they have whatever the heck this is. I mean, allegedly a gun, but I don't know if it actually is a gun. Like, how do they get that brand of gun? One of them has a knife.
He'd been seen laughing, eating, and joking while evidence of a killing was read to him, only to be released because of his age. And now, not even 2 years later, he's accused of taking part in something like this. Magistrate William Parker has ordered both Patrick Allison and Anthony Taban to return to court in January. The 16-year-old is expected to face the Children's Court later this year.
That one with the hammer was like ready to strike down. When he got up, like I saw that. Like, what is going on wherever this is? That we just have kids running around committing heinous crimes like this, and then being allowed to do it. I mean, that's probably why they're doing it, is because the guy, the 13-year-old, essentially was an accomplice to murder, and they're like, well, you're too young to be charged with murder, you're scot-free. And thus, he went on to almost do it again, because I'm assuming this guy, he was in critical condition, right? I'm assuming he was fine. So, like, almost kill someone, attempted murder now. I mean, that's only going to fly for so long until they end up becoming adults and doing this, and then they go to jail for real. But I feel like if you need to have a counterbalance to that, I don't know. Well, first of all, there needs to be some sort of punishment for committing heinous crime, even if you're a kid. But also, if you're going to make it so lenient for kids, they're probably going to keep doing it and get used to doing it. And so if they become adult, they need a death penalty for committing the crime, maybe. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that. Because I'm still just stuck on the fact that these kids are just running around committing crimes with no repercussions.
It was late July in Dagenham, a quiet area in East London. On Oval Road North, a small terraced house had become a target for a group of local teenagers. For months they gathered outside, harassing one particular home. Neighbours called police again and again, but each time the group was gone before anyone arrived.
What was the point of this?
Inside, the man who lived...
Yeah, if they're all just going around, like, why did you have to cut through? You had no patience just to walk with your homies around?
There had stopped sleeping upstairs, too nervous to close his eyes for long. By the end of the month, they came back one last time, and what they did that day would change everything.
The Robert Price incident. I'm assuming this is all like UK stuff. Just because we can like... So this is what, 7/6? I just want to see what this news says on the bottom. It's like 9 news. Home arrest. I'm trying to figure out like where this took place at. Maybe if I just go back here. I can figure that out on my own. Alright, the first one took place in Australia, I believe. Again, like, what is going on in Australia that there's just kids running around committing heinous crimes with no repercussions. I mean, which just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's no repercussions for committing heinous crimes. Thus, heinous crimes get committed and don't go punished. Question mark.
Old. He lived alone in a small terraced house on Oval Road North in Dagenham. Frail, hard of hearing, and showing early signs of dementia, he rarely left home and often used a walking frame to move around. As I previously mentioned, he'd been targeted by groups of local teenagers. They smashed his windows, shouted abuse outside his door, and filmed themselves from the street. The harassment became so frequent that he boarded up every ground floor window to stop the damage. Neighbours said it had gone on for at least 3 to 5 years. Whenever groups passed by, they would stop to throw things or shout through his letterbox. In the week...
Again, like, teens being teens, but I don't think... I mean, I know I didn't harass any people, any homes, any elderly, or whatnot as a teen, so what kind of teens are out here just going around, just, breaking and entering, mugging, murdering, etc., etc.? I mean, other than, like, hoodlums and thugs and whatnot, like, actual just criminals, young gangsters, I guess, but are these that? I mean, I guess you could argue that the first kids are some, like, hoodlums, right? But are these guys gonna be that? Or are they just, like, teenagers who want to be mischievous, but then they're also just psychopathic at the same time?
Weeks before the incident, the situation worsened. Another brick had been thrown through one of his windows just days earlier. By late July, Robert Price had become terrified to leave his home, and the same group of teenagers who had been tormenting him for years were about to return once more. It was the middle of the day on July 27, 2024, when 18-year-old Nathan Otitodilchukwu met up with a 16-year-old boy from Dagenham. CCTV from that afternoon showed them spending time together in the local area, setting off fireworks in a nearby park before taking a bus toward Oval Road North. They were seen walking past Robert Price's house several times. At around 5:30 p.m., doorbell footage captured the 16-year-old holding what appeared to be a firework. When Price opened his front door slightly and said something to them, the pair ran off.
Did they set the firework off in his face or something, or just at him? How much damage are they gonna do? Are they gonna end up hurting / ending this man's life?
As they fled, the 16-year-old could be heard shouting. They came back a short time later. The same camera recorded the 16-year-old saying, come with me, followed by, gonna effing torch this guy. As they approached the house, Otitodil can be heard yelling toward the property, calling out, yo you effing pedo, and we're gonna mess you up. The two ran into the front garden. The 16-year-old climbed onto a gas meter box, reached above the boarded up section of a window, and punched a hole through the remaining glass. He lit a firework and pushed it through the gap before jumping down. A neighbor's Ring doorbell recorded the explosion a few seconds later. A loud bang echoed through the street, followed by laughter as the pair ran away. Within minutes, smoke began to pour from the broken window. Flames followed, spreading through the room as black smoke filled the air. A neighbor who saw the fire ran to the door and tried to get inside. They managed to speak briefly to Price through the door, but his responses became less clear. When the neighbor tried to force the door open, it wouldn't move. Emergency services arrived at the house shortly after 5:40 p.m. Firefighters forced entry and found Robert Price inside. He was pronounced dead at the scene. A
I'm guessing the smoke inhalation, or...
mortem later confirmed the cause of death as inhalation of smoke and burns.
Yeah. I guess he was just like too, mentally out of it because of his dementia and whatnot to like leave his house, or like who knows what was going on in there. Get those kids in jail. Don't tell me another situation of they're too young to know what they did, so they don't have any time. Come on, juvie?
That evening, Nathan Otitodil returned to his care home in Romford. He told a support worker, I'm going to do 20 years in jail, and warned them, don't check for news about what happened in Dagenham. A few days later, he asked a woman if she'd heard about the fire. When she said no, he told her, if anyone asks, don't say I was in Dagenham. When she asked why, he said, maybe I started the fire with a firework. Within 2 days,
why would you tell
police
people?
arrested Otitodil at his home. Clothing matching what he'd worn in CCTV footage from that day was found inside. The 16-year-old was arrested soon after, following inquiries into his involvement. Both defendants later admitted.
What about the other guy? There's 3 of them. Question mark. I think the other guy was hanging back, though. I don't remember exactly where he was, but he might have been on the sidewalk, and then the firework guy was at the window, and then there was another kid yelling. I mean, the 16-year-old was the one yelling at the door.
Admitted manslaughter. On June 2nd, 2025, they were sentenced. Nathan Otitodil was jailed for 6 years. The 16-year-old, who couldn't be named because of his age, was given a custodial sentence of 2 years and 8 months. The court...
I mean, jail time, but again, old, sad man still lost his life.
...heard that the younger boy had been encouraged by Otitodil, who already had a history of offending. He'd been convicted of possessing a bladed article in September 2023, and...
The heck is a bladed article? Is that just like a knife? Just any sort of pocket weapon? Pocket-bladed weapon? I haven't heard that terminology before. Bladed article.
Again in June 2024 for carrying an offensive weapon. At the time of Robert Price's death, he was already under a youth rehabilitation order. For years, Price had lived in fear of the same groups who targeted him. He boarded up his windows, stopped sleeping upstairs, and called police again.
Yeah, this one. This guy. This is a 16-year-old. This is Odie. And who knows who this is. But this guy is so short, he barely can see over the fence. So I feel like this person has to be even younger than these two. Like, this is like a kid.
And again for help that never came. He spent his last years trapped in the only place he thought was safe. And in the end, even that wasn't enough. It was the more...
Again, I was hoping that no one really got, messed up in these this video, but unfortunately, this is a more tragic video than I thought it would be. I mean, that's not fine, but I was hoping it wasn't like that. But yeah, when we had like one guy being assaulted badly, but I think he lived. But of course, this guy, he didn't make it. Hopefully no one dies here. It's just something spooky or scary situation, but like no one actually gets hurt. Only hope.
Morning of October 18th, 2019, in the quiet suburb of Riverview, Florida. At 8:45 a.m., emergency dispatchers received a call from a woman saying she had found her fiancé lying unresponsive near their backyard pool. When officers arrived, they found 25-year-old Matthew Trussler face down beside the water, blood visible on the patio. His fiancée, 26-year-old Melissa Turner, said they had been drinking the night before and that she had gone to bed while he stayed up. She told police she woke that morning and found him like this. At first, it seemed like a terrible accident. There were no witnesses.
I mean, they said they found him lying face down near the water. Why didn't she make an attempt to not have him lying face down? It almost makes it seem, just that sentence makes it seem like she did something, but I don't know if that's going to be true, end up being true or not.
No signs of forced entry, and little to suggest what had happened during the night. But across the street, above a neighbour's garage, a small security camera had been recording. It hadn't captured video of the yard, only audio from the early hours of the morning. But what it recorded would change everything.
The Riverview recording.
Melissa Turner met Matthew Trussler on Tinder in April 2017. Their relationship moved quickly, and within 2 years they were engaged and living together in a quiet suburb of Riverview, Florida. By all accounts, the night of October 17th, 2019, began like many others. The couple had been drinking, posting on social media, and sharing photos around the house. At some point after midnight, Melissa went to bed, leaving Matthew awake. The next morning, she called 911 just before 9, saying she had found him lying outside by the pool, covered in blood.
Okay, we're gonna say that's true, so she didn't actually do anything, it was someone else? Question mark?
When detectives arrived, the scene didn't fit the story. Matthew's injuries didn't look accidental, and so...
Okay, so that's just her story, that's not what actually happened.
Within a few hours, detectives begin their first interview. Meanwhile, Detective Ryan Lagassa went around the neighborhood looking for clues. What he found was a neighbor's security camera mounted above a garage that had been recording during the early morning hours. It didn't show the yard, but the microphone captures shouting from the couple's property, 2 voices arguing, and a female voice yelling, "So f***ing die." Investigators flagged the clip as critical to the timeline.
Get up! Get up! Get up!
Meanwhile, the medical examiner found a defensive wound on Matthew's right forearm, a large laceration to the chest, a smaller cut to the right shoulder, and a deep wound to the back consistent with a stab wound.
So I'm guessing he had already been attacked while she was saying that, because she said she was telling him to get up, which means he probably had already fallen down onto the ground from what she did.
Conclusion was his cause of death as an incised wound to the arm with perforation of...
Okay, so he's actually confirmed gone now, because he was just saying he was unresponsive before, but now we're saying that he actually is gone, so oof.
Consistent with a stab wound. Their conclusion was his cause of death as an incised wound to the arm with perforation of the cephalic vein. When confronted with the audio and the injury findings, Turner's account changes. The new version places an argument in the early hours, claims that Matthew tried to choke her, and frames the stabbing as self-defense, including a statement that she stabbed him lightly in the back to get him off her. This led to investigators finding another crucial piece of evidence in December, this time coming from directly inside the house. The ADT security system had been recording through the night of October 18th, and the footage filled in what the audio from across the street could not. At 3:38 a.m., Melissa is seen running towards the office. Minutes later, Matthew walks past the camera, followed by Melissa, hunched over and angry. At 4:01 a.m., the camera shows Melissa Turner running from the direction of the kitchen. She looks distressed, moving quickly through the living room. Around that same time, the microphone from the neighbor's camera picks up the sound of yelling. At 4:08 a.m., the ADT camera shows her standing in the front hallway, staring toward the door. Disturbingly, it looks as though she's talking to nobody, almost as if she's in a state of psychosis or something. Then, at 8:35 a.m., the last recording shows her walking through the house, with her hair messy, as if she had just woken up. This was around the time she would call the police. This video, combined with the recording from across the road, gave police enough evidence to proceed with arresting Melissa. Her trial began on February 14th, 2022, after several delays caused by the pandemic. And at the end of the week-long trial, a jury found Turner guilty of second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 20.5 years in prison. The recordings from that...
20.5? Yeah, it's hard to tell what's even happening, because it's just them going back and forth, back and forth. I mean, he goes to the left once and then never comes back, right? That's when she presumably ends his life, but we don't see any weapon or anything, but I'm guessing... Oh, is she crazy? I mean, she could have pleaded insanity if she was, literally caught on camera, just talking to herself. Then I don't know.
Night told the story she tried to hide. The argument, the screams, and the sound of the final moments were all captured without anyone realizing it. It's
like, why is she hunched over in all those shots? Like, that's what I was wondering. Like, why is she hunched? Is that just her normal stance, or like what's going on there?
Crazy to think that had they not checked the neighbor's camera, or their ADT camera for that matter, she could have potentially gotten away with it. It's rare for a case like this to be seen and heard from 2 different angles, but in this one, both the neighbor's camera and their own home system recorded everything that mattered. Because of that, Melissa Turner couldn't rewrite what happened. The cameras did what no one else could. They showed the truth. It was the early morning of May 15th, 2021, in Dallas, Texas. Inside a home on Florida.
Dallas, Texas. I mean, it's always Texas, right? We always have to see Texas brought up in these videos. What? I mean, it's been a while, but it's odd how often Texas comes up in one of these like true crime videos. Not necessarily like The Void, but like everyone they watch. I couldn't tell you where all they have shown up at. They just show up a lot. It makes sense, I guess, technically, just because of how big Texas is, like the second biggest state in America, right? I think what Alaska is the biggest, but that's like, do you really count Alaska? You know, that huge chunk that's a million miles up above Canada. It's not even connected to the rest of America. Do we really want to count Alaska? If we're not counting Alaska, then Texas is the biggest state in America. So it would make sense that maybe just proportionately there would be more. It's be more likely for something to show up in these videos that happens there because it just literally taking up more space. So there's more people, and the more people is a higher percentage of like bad things happening. Not necessarily a higher percentage, but just like it happening more often because there's more area. But technically, I guess it's probably like no different than any other state. It's just if you compare them appropriately, I guess. If any of that makes sense.
Marina Parkway, 4-year-old twins were asleep in their bed. At 5 a.m., a figure stepped through the doorway. A home surveillance camera in the corner of the room.
Like, what am I looking at? Okay, so I can't tell if they have something on their head, if this is their hair, like what this is. They have some sort of backpack.
Recorded him moving toward the bed. He stopped beside the children, leaned down, and lifted one of them into his arms before turning and walking out. The footage itself
Stole a
doesn't look
baby?
unusual at first. It could be a
I mean, they have a backpack, but like, I think they have a backpack on and like a slight bandana on their head. From like the microsecond that you see them turning around, but you can already, like, why would you take one twin instead of both twins? Like, why would you separate them? It's like clearly this man just stole a baby.
parent checking on their kids before morning, but it isn't. The man who took the child isn't their father. And worst of all, he doesn't even live there. Twins Cash and Carter Gernon had been staying in a home on Florina Parkway in the Mountain Creek neighborhood. The house belonged to Monica Sherrod, their father's former girlfriend.
I'm guessing the fact that his face is blurred means something bad happened to him. I mean, so you showed the other twins' face, and if they're twins, well, then they have the exact same face, but it's just morally why you wouldn't show the face. But I mean, technically, I don't know why you showed the other twin's face. You should blur his face too.
Their father, Trevor Gernon, had recently moved back to Houston, leaving the boys in her care to look for a
Why?
job, amongst other things, as he later said. He said he'd known Sherrod for years and believed she could look after them while he tried to get back on his feet.
Sure.
Sherrod lived there with several of her own children, and by all accounts, the house was busy and often full of people coming and going. Cash and Carter slept in the same room at the back of the house because, as Sherrod explained, she didn't want them alone. She kept a security camera in the room, positioned toward their bed, and left it recording overnight. Living nearby was 18-year-old Darian Brown. He was familiar with the neighborhood and had been to the house before through one of Sherrod's
Why is this guy stealing babies? Like, what?
teenage sons. People in the area knew him. He was familiar with the neighborhood and had been to the house before through one of Sherrod's teenage sons. People in the area knew him, but not well. Darian had visited the house 2 days earlier and interacted with Cash while she was out grocery shopping, which angered Sherrod, but he wasn't seen since, and so Sherrod continued on. And so on that night, nothing seemed out of place. The boys went to sleep as they always did, sharing a blanket, the faint light from the hallway spilling into the room, as everyone else in the house would eventually fall asleep. At 5 a.m., the camera in the twins' bedroom recorded a man entering the room. He was dressed in a hoodie, sweatpants, and sneakers, moving slowly toward the bed where the two boys slept. For several seconds he stood still, looking down at them. Then he reached forward, pulled back their blanket, and hesitated again. Finally, he leaned in, lifted one of the boys into his arms, and carried him out of the room. The other twin stirred slightly, but didn't wake. At 6:40 a.m., a neighbor walking along Saddle Ridge Drive, about 8 blocks from the house, saw a small figure lying in the middle of the road. It was Cash. He was barefoot, shirtless, and covered in blood. He had died from multiple stab wounds. Within minutes, police and emergency crews filled the street. Officers began knocking.
Again, like, why did you kidnap this baby and then commit infanticide? I'm confused on the story that's happening here. Also, I mean, infanticide just happened, so I mean, I guess this video can't get any worse than that. Again, I didn't know it was going to be like this messed up, like so many people dying from these camera footage videos. 'Cause usually, like these Ring camera stuff, it's not that bad. It's just creepy stuff, or scary stuff, not murder, 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 question mark. But again, I'm confused on the story. Did they say that he was talking to the woman at some point, maybe like out at like a grocery store, and the kid got mad that she was talking to him? If that's the case, did this man really break into their house, steal this kid, and commit infanticide out of like anger that the kid got angry at him? Like, is that how crazy or just stupid or petty this man is? So that's I'm confused on what actually is happening here, and that seems like that's the story being told here.
Knocking on doors, asking residents if they had children in their homes. No one yet knew who the boy was or where he had come from. Back on Florina Parkway, the house was still quiet. Inside, Carter Gernon was asleep in the same bed his brother had been taken from just hours earlier. But
And don't forget that this was a twin, so now this twin is not going to have their other half for the rest of their life? Question mark.
at around 7 a.m., the same figure returns to the bedroom after sunrise.
What?
The room is brighter now, the outlines of the bed and furniture clearly visible. The man walks in
How is he just casually coming in and out of this place?
and stands over him for several seconds, reaching down slightly before hesitating. He seems to hear something outside the room, steps back, and quickly leaves without taking him. Moments later, Carter wakes up. The recording shows him looking around, confused by the empty space beside him. He climbs out of bed and walks toward the door, searching the house for his brother. After a few minutes, he returns to the room alone. Later that day, agents arrived at the home on Florina Parkway. They carried out bags of evidence, including the security footage that showed the abduction. In her statement, Monica Sherrod identified the man in the video as Darian Brown after recognizing him from being in her house days earlier. By 10 p.m. that night, Dallas police confirmed Brown had been arrested. He was booked into the county jail and charged with burglary and kidnapping. As evidence was processed, those charges were upgraded to include capital murder.
Yeah, I'm like, hello? What do you mean just burglary and kidnapping? Hello? There's a... I haven't really been too coy this entire video, just because, like, what he's showing is so... not vulgar, but so far, like, really messed up for YouTube standards, that I'm like, okay, maybe I don't have to care about what I'm saying, but, like, literally ended a child, and that wasn't added to his things immediately. It's just burglary and kidnapping. Hello?
Detectives learned that Brown had entered the home through an unlocked garage and forced open a back door to reach the bedroom. Court records also showed this wasn't the first time he had tried to take a child. 3 months earlier,
Why?
he'd broken into another home in Dallas and attempted to abduct a 2-year-old girl before being stopped by her grandfather.
Like,
The
what
man
is wrong?
managed to grab the child back, and Brown ran. No
Again, what is wrong with this guy? And why didn't they do anything about it then? Like, hello? Is this guy just mentally ill?
police report was filed. After his arrest, both prosecutors and doctors agreed that Brown wasn't mentally fit to stand trial.
Again, that's the unfortunate part. That's what I'm thinking. Like, 'cause why would you kidnap a kid and commit infanticide? Also, this is Fox News, or this is America. But again, why?
In 2022, he was sent to Terrell State Hospital for treatment after doctors determined he couldn't understand the proceedings or help with his own defense. Following treatment, a judge later ruled he was competent to return to court. His lawyer said Brown had been diagnosed with schizophrenia and was hearing voices the night of the killing. But in October 2025, Darian Brown pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. Cash's
I mean, sure, life in prison for infanticide, that's fine. And you argue you want death, but life is fine.
father, Trevor Gernon, released a statement from Houston. He admitted he had left Dallas weeks earlier to avoid pending drug charges, leaving his sons in the care of his ex-girlfriend. He said he believed they would be safe, but that trust had...
Okay, so they weren't together. I thought he left, like they were still together, but he left to go make money. I mean, he still left to make money, but it was less dubious, or more dubious than we were told from the get-go, so you can argue that, well, I don't, would him being there would have that even mattered? Because he snuck in and stole them. I don't know if it would have made a difference if he was there or not. Like, you would hope so, so it'd be like, yeah, sure, he's probably going to feel guilty for the rest of his life, but again, I don't know if it would have made a difference if the stealth was still the same.
had cost him everything. The footage from that night is difficult to process. The recording isn't loud or chaotic. It's quiet, still, and almost ordinary. Even more disturbing is that the camera didn't just record a man kidnapping a child he would later murder. It caught the very same man, trying to do it again.
Yeah, that's the end of the video. So yeah, that's that. Getting much more traumatic than thought it was going to be. I thought might just be some nice, not nice, but like scary, spooky ring video kind of things, not necessarily these horrible, tragic events, like back to back to back. I mean, I guess the very first one, even though it seems like really bad, was in fact the not tamest, but at least nobody died, as far as I know, right? I think that guy lived. But after that, I was like, nope, just gone, gone, gone. Then freaking kidnapping and infanticide at the end, like Jesus freaking H Christ, right? And just unfortunate things all around. Again, what is with all these kids doing this stuff? Even that guy at the end, he looked really young. So like, what is wrong with all these children committing all these crimes? Question mark. Also, Australia, get your act together with this. Like, really, children could just commit heinous crimes for free with no punishment? No punishment in quotations. Like, hello? Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have anything else to say on this video. Again, it's just unfortunates all around on this one, except for the fact that I think the guy at the beginning lived. Hopefully. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Remember to buy my stickers, think about becoming a member, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because we're going to watch them and subscribers. And don't forget we have a throne now as well. So hold on. There we go. I just like pause so I can throw it in. There's the throne now. I was like, yesterday I was like, you know what? Let me just throw a PC on there. I mean, it's a very expensive PC, but let me just throw a PC on there and see about that. Just finally get a new PC. I've been using the same one for 11 years. It was trash 11 years ago, and that only gets more exponentially worse as the years go on. So we need a new PC. So I'm like, you know what, screw it. Let's throw it on the throne and see what happens. Second, so yeah, don't forget we have a throne now as well, and shout out the members, EmmyStarr, RaleyDrew, and alexgkiller 880. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Tune into the, well, I keep forgetting to stop saying hey guys. So yeah, cuties, thanks for watching. Tune into the next episode. Like, subscribe, comment. No to do. See ya.